Hi, I'm Annalie Delaney, student number T00792249. This is assignment number 3, skeletal system joints. This is my list I'm going off of. And so I have my stifle here. I'm going to use this half. So the diaphysis of the bone is that long portion. So that would be the diaphysis, and then the epiphysis is found at either end. And you have the epiphyseal plates or the growth plates. You can see them up there and right there. And then we have the cortex compact bone. So that's that hard outer bone. And the cancellous spongy bone, so that is, you can see it up there. Kind of looks like a sponge, but it's still pretty hard. Then we have the medulla, or the medullary cavity. So that's that cavity where the bone marrow sits in, and the nutrient foramen. So that is it's hard to find. It would be where the major blood vessel runs into the bone, which provides it all the nutrients and blood that it needs. It's usually a little hole that's found up near the proximal end, but I can't seem to find it on this guy. The periosteum and the endosteum. So the periosteum is that thin layer that lines the outside of the bone, and the endosteum lines the medullary cavity on the inside. Bone marrow. So I already taken some out here, but that's what sits in the medullary cavity, and you can take it out. So that would be yellow bone marrow. The joint capsule, I'm going to use this one instead. It's already kind of apart. So the joint capsule is this tissue that kind of lines the joint and keeps everything in there. And then the synovial membrane is what is in between the tendons and the bones, and that produces a fluid. It's called synovial fluid. Can't really see any in here, but it's an egg white consistency kind of fluid, and that just helps everything move smoothly. So then we have the cartilage. So that is the articular cartilage, which is made up of hyaline cartilage, and that just allows that to articulate smoothly. The meniscus, so that is that C-shaped cartilage, and that sits between the femur and the tibia. Then we have the condyles. So this is a condyle here. And I'm going to try and put this guy back together. So you can see it kind of right there. So that would be the lateral condyle, and then the medial condyles are in here underneath all that meat. And then the epicondyles, that's that outer edge. So right there, and then that is the medial condyle, and then the lateral epicondyle, and the medial epicondyle. The patella, so that is, show it easier on here. So that's the patella or the kneecap. And then the trochlear groove is what the patella sits in. So that is that groove right there. And then we have the tibial tuberosity. It's easier to see on here. So the tibial tuberosity is that piece right there, and then the tibial crest extends down distally from there. The fibula, I believe it got cut off of here, but that is where the fibula would have been, and that would be on the lateral side of the tibia. So the anterior cruciate ligament, hard to see on there, would be, I believe I cut it here too. So you can see part of the anterior cruciate ligament there, and kind of the other half of it is there. And then the posterior cruciate ligament, there's part of it there. And then it's easier to see on here. That would be the posterior cruciate ligament. And then we have the patellar ligament. It's easy to see on this guy. So that would be the ligament that runs down from the patella. And then we have the medial and lateral collateral ligaments. So in this guy, so that would be the lateral collateral ligament in there. And then the medial collateral ligament is there and kind of extends all the way up into there. So yeah. So the drawer test is a test a veterinarian may do to determine whether an animal has ruptured or severed or teared or injured the cranial cruciate ligament or the anterior cruciate ligament, and that's when they manipulate the joint to see if they can feel that injury in there. And the difference in veterinary medicine and human medicine nomenclature is in terms of ligaments. So the anterior cruciate ligament is called the cranial cruciate ligament in veterinary medicine, and the caudal cruciate ligament is called the posterior cruciate ligament